Welcome back to Dev Errors Fixed. Today, JSON decode error, the error Python throws the moment JSON.loads meets text that isn't valid JSON. It's incredibly common. An empty response, a truncated download, or the one will reproduce a config file that a human hand edited and left a trailing comma in. We'll reproduce it live, read exactly what Python is telling you, and fix it cleanly. Let's go. First, fatto idea, JSON looks almost exactly like a Python dictionary, but it's a much stricter format. No trailing commas, every key wrapped in double quotes, no single quotes, no comments. When you call JSON.loads, it walks the text character by character. And the moment it hits something that breaks the rules, it stops and raises JSON decode error. And crucially, it tells you exactly where, the line, the column, and what it expected. The most common trap is the trailing comma, because a Python happily allows one, but JSON does not. Let's watch it happen. Here's exactly what goes wrong. Our config text has a host, a port, and then after 8080, a comma, and then the closing brace. In a Python dictionary, the trailing comma is fine. But JSON's rule is, after a comma inside an object, the next thing must be another key in double quotes. Python's parser reads the comma, expects a new key, and instead finds the closing brace. So it stops and says expecting property name enclosed in double quotes, and it points at the exact spot, the line and column right where the missing key should have been. Notice the fix side, we don't blindly trust the text, we wrap the parsing try, except so a bad file is caught and handled instead of crashing the program. Let's build the broken version so you can see it. This is app.py. We have a config string, raw, exactly as it came from a hand-edited file, and you can see the trailing comma after the port value. Right now, the parse spot is just an empty dictionary placeholder. Let's fill in the real JSON.loads and run it. Here is the parse filled in. Config equals JSON.loads of raw. This is the natural one-line way to turn JSON text into a Python object, and it works perfectly when the text is valid. But our raw string has that trailing comma, which JSON forbids, so this single line is gonna throw. Let's run it and read exactly what Python says. We run it, and there it is. json.decoder.JSONDecodeError, expecting property name, enclosed in double quotes, line 4, column 1. Read that literally. After the comma on the port line, the parser expected the next key, another property name in double quotes, but the very next thing it found was the closing brace on line 4. That's the trailing comma. And notice how precise it is. It hands you the exact line and column, so you go straight to the problem. Now the fix. The fix is to stop assuming the text is valid and parse it defensively. Wrap the json.loads call in a try except json.JSONDecodeError. When it fails, the exception object hands you everything you need. a.lineno, a.colno, a.msg, even the character position, so you can log a precise human-readable message instead of a raw crash. Then you recover however makes sense. Fall back to a default config, report a clear error, or refetch the data. And of course, the root cause here is the file itself, so the real fix is to make the JSON valid, no trailing comma, or better, stop hand-editing JSON and generate it with json.dump. Let's apply the defensive parse. Here is the fixing code. We move the parse into a small function and wrap it in try, except json.JSONDecodeError. On success, we return the parsed config. On failure, we print exactly where it broke using the exceptions line, column, and message, and then return a safe fallback config instead of crashing. Same bad input, but now the program stays alive, tells us precisely what was wrong, and keeps running. Let's run it again. Same broken input, and now it just works. It prints bad JSON at line 4, column 1, the exact message, and then port is 8080 from our fallback. No traceback, no crash. We caught the JSON decode error, logged precisely where the JSON was invalid, and recovered gracefully. The data was malformed, but the program handled it like a professional instead of falling over. That's the fix. Quick recap, JSON is stricter than a Python dict, no trailing commas, key is always in double quotes, so JSON.load stops at the first thing that breaks the rules and raises JSON decode error. The message is precise, it names the exact line and column and what it expected, which here was a property name because of a trailing comma. The clean fix is to parse defensively, wrap json.loads and try, except json.JSONDecodeError, use the line, column, and message it gives you to log the problem and fall back or report instead of crashing. Never trust that incoming text is valid JSON and validate at the boundary. A quick note, reproducing these errors safely and explaining the fix line by line takes real work. If it helps you, the wallets are on screen and there's a Ko-fi link below. Every tip funds the next one. Thank you. That's JSON.decodeError, reproduced and fixed. Once you see that JSON is strict and JSON.loads points you at the exact character that broke the rules, the message makes perfect sense, and the fix is a small defensive try, except. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, tell me in the comments which error to break down next, and I'll see you there.